similar exercises in Panama a month ago as well, under a bilateral agreement that allows Washington to use Panamanian air and naval bases for training without establishing its own bases. The agreement that came amid pressure from Trump had sparked protests across the country. He has repeatedly claimed that China has too much influence over the canal, which handles about 40% of U.S. container traffic and 5% of world trade. In April, Trump had also called for the free transit of American commercial and military ships through the interoceanic route, claiming that canal would not exist without the U.S. On the other hand, Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino has clarified that the toll fees are regulated by the Panama Canal Authority, an autonomous governing body overseeing the trade route.
And more than 14,000 Filipino and American troops kicked off the annual military exercises amid heightened tensions in the region. The 3-week drills, whose name means shoulder to shoulder, will run through May 9 and include a full battle test between the two countries. The exercises will be showcasing advanced U.S. military hardware, including the HIMARS rocket launcher and the anti-ship missile system. U.S. asserting the aim is to maintain peace while both sides are demonstrating credible combat power in defense.
The showcase, if you will, of this year's Balakatan will be what we are collectively referring to as a full battle test. What is a full battle test, you might ask? It is the integration, the purposeful integration of real-world security situations relevant to the region with live, virtual, and constructive training opportunities that will give us as a collective entity the opportunity to demonstrate capabilities across all domains, across all services and all forces.
The Philippines, on the other hand, has acknowledged the strategic importance of the exercises. It states that the drills will not only strengthen alliance capabilities, but also help deter potential conflict in Taiwan.
The Balikatan exercise may probably help deter the conflict in Taiwan. But for our concern, it is only for deterrence of any possible coercion or invasion to our country.
In fact, Beijing is pushing back, accusing Manila of undermining what it calls regional strategic stability. The Chinese government has routinely criticized the exercises, viewing them as a threat to its interests in the South China Sea.
The Philippines, in collusion with countries outside the region, conducts large-scale military exercises, introduces and deploys strategic and tactical weapons, undermines regional strategic stability, damages the region's economic growth prospects, and openly stands on the opposite side to regional countries. This has already aroused strong aversion and opposition from regional countries.
For several months now, the Philippines has been locked in a series of tense confrontations with Beijing over disputed territories in the South China Sea. Since President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took office in 2022, Manila has steadily deepened its defense cooperation with the United States, pushing back against China's sweeping maritime claims.
In a striking show of strength, South Korea, US and Japan have conducted a powerful display of air strength over the Korean peninsula, this amid rising tensions with North Korea. Now, these are the images of the joint aerial drills led by U.S. Air Force's formidable B-52H strategic bomber, which is capable of carrying nuclear weapons. The long-range bomber, escorted by South Korean F-15Ks and U.S. F-16s, flew over international waters off the southern South Korean island of Jeju. It was later joined by Japanese F-15s in a clear demonstration of integrated military coordination. The presence of the B-52H bomber is meant to improve the deterrence and response capabilities against North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. The drills come just days after North Korea ramped up its missile rhetoric and declared its continued pursuit of tactical nuclear weapons. The presence of the B-52H bomber was often seen as a symbol of American air dominance. sends a potent message to Pyongyang. The long-range heavy bomber is known for its ability to carry an array of weapons, from cluster bombs to precision-guided missiles. It can fly at high subsonic speeds. Last month, the U.S. carried out the largest ever stealth bomber operation in its history. It used these strategic bombers to strike Iran's nuclear sites using massive bunker buster bombs. On the same day, top South Korean, U.S. and Japanese military officers urged North Korea to cease all unlawful activities that threaten regional security during a trilateral meeting in Seoul. The chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from South Korea, the U.S. and Japan discussed North Korea's deployment of troops to Russia to support its war against Ukraine and Russia's potential transfer of military technology to North Korea in return. The aerial drills also come on a day when Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrives in North Korea amid increasing military and other cooperation between the countries that have raised concerns among their neighbors.
And tensions in the South China Sea are flaring up. US and Philippines have conducted a series of high-stakes military exercises in Zambales province, located just a few hundred miles from the disputed South China Sea.
Now, in a show of force, US and Philippine forces teamed up in an annual Balikatan exercises, which saw over 9,000 American and 5,000 Filipino personnel taking part. The drills also involved 260 Australian troops, simulated combat scenarios to improve coordination and readiness between the two nations.
The thunder of missiles streaking across the sky and the echo of anti-aircraft fire rolled across the coast of Zambales over the weekend, as Philippine and US troops also launched a high-intensity air and missile defense drill.
The location of these drills is particularly significant, as Zambales lies directly across from South China Sea, a region increasingly dominated by Chinese territorial claims. The drills come amid rising tensions in the region, particularly around Taiwan. The U.S. has been strengthening its military alliances in the Indo-Pacific, with the Philippines playing a key role.
The U.S. military has also deployed anti-ship missile launchers on Bataan Island, just south of Taiwan. This underscores the strategic importance of the Bashi Channel, a vital maritime route for both trade and military operations.
That's something, our treaty obligations, that's the longest treaty obligation in the Pacific. That's something we always take seriously. For the United States Marine Corps, we've never left the Pacific. Even when we were fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, we've never left the Pacific.
For China, these exercises and deployments are seen as provocative actions in what it considers its territorial waters. The Chinese government has sharply criticized the maneuvers, viewing them as part of a broader U.S. strategy to counter its growing influence in the region.
Early this month, the Chinese military staged large-scale drills in the waters around Taiwan and renewed a warning to the self-ruled democracy not to seek independence. Chinese Navy, air, ground and rocket forces staged these drills. Now, for several months, the Philippines has been locked in a series of tense confrontations with Beijing over disputed territories in the South China Sea. Since President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took office in the year 2022, Manila has steadily deepened its defense cooperation with the United States, pushing back against China's sweeping maritime claims. North Korea has lashed out at a recent joint aerial exercise conducted by the United States, Japan and South Korea, warning them of what it calls grave consequences. The joint aerial drill was held on the 11th of July over international waters near South Korea's southern Jeju Island. It involved advanced weapons from all three nations, including a US B-52H strategic bomber, which is capable of carrying nuclear weapons. And according to South Korea's defense ministry, the drill aimed to enhance deterrence against what it called North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. Pyongyang called the joint action provocative and threatening and accused Washington, D.C., Seoul and Tokyo of forming a nuclear-based triangular military alliance. It warned that their actions risk plunging the region into what it described as an unpredictable phase of military confrontation. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned the US, South Korea and Japan against forming any kind of a security alliance targeting North Korea.
Military construction is underway around this country with the participation of the USA, South Korea, Japan. We warn against exploiting these ties to build alliances directed against anyone, including North Korea and, of course, Russia.
Pyongyang views US-led military drills as invasion rehearsals. It has long argued that it is forced to develop nuclear weapons to defend itself from US military threats.
The US, South Korea, Japan, and showing force against North Korea. In a striking show of strength, as I mentioned, South Korea, Japan, and Japan, they've actually conducted a powerful display of air strength over the Korean Peninsula. What this does is that it aims, this is amid rising tensions with North Korea. I'm sorry about that. These are the images on the screen of the joint aerial drills led by the U.S. Air Force's formidable B-52H strategic bomber, which is capable of carrying nuclear weapons. The long-range bomber, escorted by South Korean F-15Ks and U.S. F-16s, flew over international waters off the southern South Korea island of Jeju. It was later joined by Japanese F-15s in a clear demonstration of integrated military coordination. The presence of B-52H bombers is meant to improve the deterrence and response capabilities against North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. The drills come just days after North Korea ramped its missile rhetoric and declared its continued pursuit of tactical nuclear weapons. The presence of the B-52H bomber, often seen as a symbol of American air dominance, sends a potent message to Pyongyang. The long-range heavy bomber is known for its ability to carry an array of weapons, from cluster bombs to